So today we're going to do the first oil change on my new 2021 F150 XLT with the 5-liter engine. I had a 2018, same package and everything before, so I can see if how the oil change process on this one compares to the last one, and also go through the process. If you just got a 21 F150 for the first time, I'll step through the whole process for the oil change. So to start, bring your truck to wherever you're going to do the oil change. Sorry about all the salt and sand and snow on the truck right now. It's Canada. It's been a week of snow and dirty roads. So even though the truck was washed yesterday, unfortunately it's all dirty again and you don't get to see the beautiful new truck yet. So pull it into your garage, wherever you're doing the work. Pop the hood. So also I have my creeper to get underneath the truck for the oil change. Oil pan here ready to go, oil filter. And using the Ford Motorcraft oil filter. And I have the synthetic blend motor oil from Ford or Motorcraft as well. Let's get started. So because of the auto start stop on the truck, once you have warmed up your engine and got the oil warm, you want to let it sit for 20 minutes. That's all the oil drain out back into the oil pan. If you don't let it sit, you might run into some issues where all the old oil doesn't actually drain out, and then you have dirty oil left in there, as well as probably too much oil if you've added in the full 7 3/4 quarts. Alright, so first thing up in the front here, we're going to take off the fill cap right here on the left side of the engine. So you just set this aside, check inside for any sludge. It actually looks like there's a little bit started in there, perhaps from the cold weather. So right now I have about 5,000 kilometers on the truck, so this is its first oil change. It's about 3,000 miles. So I'm interested to see what the oil looks like. And after this, I'll probably follow about every 8 to 10,000 kilometers for an oil change. So the reason we want to take the fill cap off the top is so that when we're draining oil at the bottom, this allows air to get in through the top and allows everything just to flow out a little cleaner and smoother, and just makes the whole process a little bit easier. Okay, so we got the fill cap off the top. We are now going to get underneath the truck. We're going to drain the oil from the oil pan first. We'll see how that process goes, and then we'll finish up with replacing the oil filter and come back up top to put the new oil in. Okay, so after a little bit of challenge getting under the truck, apparently because of how I have the truck parked, and maybe it's a little bit different spot from my last truck, or I've gained some weight, I needed to jack up the truck a little bit, which you can see here. So something of note, if you're coming from a previous generation with the F150 5-liter with the plastic oil pan and plastic plug, you'll notice that Ford has moved to a steel oil pan once again, and a steel plug on the bottom there. So I came underneath expecting just to be able to undo it with my hands, but that was not the case. So you need a 16mm wrench or socket. So let's get started. So I always like to loosen the drain plug with the wrench or with the socket, and then once you're able to do it by hand, I prefer to do that so I have control of the plug, and so that it doesn't just pop right out into the drain pan. Looks like it's dripping out now, so I'm going to get the pan underneath and start draining. So it seems in this case I didn't let the truck sit quite the full 20 minutes before I drained it, because the last half quart of oil is taking its sweet time coming out. The first amount just really came out as would expect, but the last amount seems to like it's trickling down from throughout the engine, and is slowly trickling into the drain pan right now. So it looks like we might almost be at the end here. So another note, if you have the ability or capacity, I'd get your truck up a little higher than what I have right now. I haven't left myself much room to actually work under here, and it's been good for stretching or fitting at the small places. So if you have the ability, jack up your truck a little more, or get it on a hoist if you can. But that's not possible for everyone, so you work with what you have. So once the oil's done draining out, you can put the drain plug back in. By hand at first if you like. If you have a rag underneath, your hands can get covered in oil. I also like to wear vinyl gloves or latex gloves just to save those additional chemicals on the hand. So clean up the oil around the spot. You can move your drain pan out of the way now. Get it up underneath the oil filter area for the next step there. So when you're tightening it up, you don't want it to be over tight, but it still needs to be snug. You definitely don't want to strip the threads and have cause yourself issues later on. So one last final wipe up of oil, and looks like we're good to go. Right, so we've drained the oil out of the pan, or out of the oil pan now into our drain pan. Have the plug back in. You want to make sure that's not, or just snug and not over tight. You definitely don't want to strip the threads on that. Kudos to Ford engineers. Apparently they've been paying attention to either complaints from previous oil changes or have done it themselves. The previous oil pan had the filler cap. When you took it out, the oil would hit this bar here and hit it in the exact right way that it caused it to spray all over the place. Learned that the hard way to make sure I had lots of rags around before. So whoever redesigned this, way to go, thumbs up. So now the plug is right on the bottom. No other part of the truck is in the way, and the oil just drains out cleanly, and you don't have a big mess like I did last time. Right, so now we're going to move up a little bit and tackle the oil filter. I'm doing an oil change for the filter. I usually like to have my new filter prepped and ready to go already to eliminate the number of times I have to slide in and out underneath the truck. So I got my filter here. It's a good idea to use a bit of fresh oil and just run a ring around the seal on here. It helps it just seat a little better to the truck so you don't have a dry filter against the metal on the truck. For the filter change, I like to use one of these things. If you got real strong grip strength, then go for it just with your bare hands on the filter. It shouldn't be a whole lot more than hand tight anyway, but this is coming from the factory. I'm not sure how tight it's going to be, and that wrench just makes it a whole lot easier. So the oil filter for the F150 5 liter, I assume the other ones too, maybe a similar spot, is right up in here. So we're going to use that wrench to get that loosened. They have designed a nice little oil tray here for ideally the oil comes out here. In my experience, that's never happened. Some comes out here, yes. I've also had some come out from back here and all over the place. So I'm going to prep the pan here just in case, but be ready to move it back to wherever the oil is coming out. And it looks like it was right. Unfortunately, well, there you got a couple drops coming out of the thing here, and then the rest has poured out there back on this little shield. And before I could get the oil pan underneath, it made a huge mess. So note for yourself and for my future self, make sure your catch can or your oil pan is underneath back here and not under this nicely designed thing here. Could be because my truck's on a bit of an angle, but just be prepared for either case. Okay, so I have a new oil filter ready over here. The fresh ring of oil around the surface. I'm gonna get that up underneath, lined up into place. So I'm gonna put it on by hand. It's important not to cross thread or strip the threads on this either. So once it's hand tight, I usually like to give it one more last little snug with the wrench, just to make sure. Although you're probably right just leaving it hand tightened on there as well. And then once this is finished draining, we can clean all this up out from underneath the truck. Once the truck's out of the garage, I'll clean up the big mess on the floor. Yay, best part. And then we're gonna move up top to put the new oil in. So it requires 7 3/4 quarts or 7.3 liters. I have 1 quart jugs. So I'll just save 1/4 of a quart out of one of them, and then the rest will all go in. And it looks like my filter is going to require 2 hands for the work. So let's see if I can set the camera down, and let's give it a shot. Okay, so once you're done putting your 7 3/4 quarts in, yes, I know I've said it multiple times, but I have to look it up every time I change the oil, so hopefully by repeating it multiple times, I'm going to remember it myself, and hopefully you will too. So you remove the funnel when you're done then. Be careful for any oil drips that come out. Then hopefully you haven't lost your filler cap, and then you'll just tighten that back up. So next step is going to be the oil life reset monitor inside the truck, which I will show you momentarily. Okay, so we're back. We've got the oil filled up in the top of the engine, hood closed. So now we're coming into the truck to do the oil life monitor reset. So depending which model of truck you have, the display might look a little bit different, but the steps should be the same. So first step, push the start button, or put your real key in if you have one of those, and step through the warning lights there. So if you have a real key, put that in and just turn it to the first indent. Okay, so we're gonna hit the back button on here. I guess depending where you are, we're gonna scroll down to settings. Yep, a little too far, vehicle maintenance, oil life, and hold the OK button to reset the oil. Should be back at 100%, and there we go, good to go. So now we're going to start it, back it out, and then check to make sure there's no puddles on the ground or anything else that would indicate that I didn't put something back together properly. So assuming that's all good, then you have now successfully changed your oil in your 2021 F150 with a 5-liter engine. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or comment below if you have any questions. Thanks.